Hello, and welcome to Healing the Cultures workshop, Doing Pro-Life Education the Easy Way. I'm Camille Pauley. I'll be your host. I am the Director, President, and CEO of Healing the Culture. We are a national, actually an international nonprofit corporation. We have offices in Chicago, Illinois, in Seattle, Washington, and in Rapid City, South Dakota. And our purpose, our raison d'etre, if you will, is to teach pro-life education in a way that is rational, that is logical, that is also appealable in people's hearts, that grabs them in the heart and grabs them in the head to help them want to embrace pro-life principles and want to live an ethical and just life, observing and acknowledging the dignity and the worth and the value and the legal rights of the unborn child, of the elderly, the terminally ill, and the disabled. So what we work to do is to help people become authentically pro-life, to help them become, if you will, permanently pro-life, and to help them become deeply pro-life. Those are our three most important values at Healing the Culture. So what I want to do in this workshop today is to help you be able to teach pro-life education to the people in your circles. Some of you are parents, some are grandparents, we have some teachers, religious educators, some of you work in government, some of you work in institutions, educational institutions and business organizations, some of you are in leadership. In any way that you move and work, you will be able to find a way to teach these pro-life ethics to your circles. And we have something for everybody. So there are educational tools for the very young, all the way down to kindergarten, even preschool. We have materials for high school, for college, and for adults. And I'm going to be sharing all of that with you today and make this a really practical workshop, and then leave you with some free tools that you can use in your home, in your school, in your church or parish, in your organization, in small group studies, or even on your own. So let me back up a little bit and tell you about who we are at Healing the Culture. We were founded in 2003 by Father Robert Spitzer, who is a Jesuit and a philosopher. And he really believed that you cannot change the law on abortion or euthanasia or assisted suicide permanently, and in a way that won't just get reversed if you don't first change human hearts, if you don't first have a culture of people on a massive scale where people are actually living for what is worthy of them instead of living for things that are beneath them. So he founded this program, which we refer to as the Life Principles, which is a curriculum, and then we founded the organization. We're going to go through a little bit later about how you can connect with the organization, but let's go through first a little bit about the curriculum itself. So I want to take you through just a little like a crash course in what we do at Healing the Culture, what we call the Life Principles. What do we do and how we teach it? Well, the basis of everything we do starts with what Father Spitzer calls the 4 levels of happiness. Human happiness is what motivates us in everything we do. It drives us towards who we're going to become, what our career is going to be, whether or not we're going to get married, what kind of goods we're pursuing. All of that depends on how we view happiness. So happiness is the driver of every other important, significant term in our lives, whether it's an individual term or a cultural term. So the way you define, for example, success, or how you view quality of life, or what you think freedom is, or love, or what you believe about human rights, or even the human person itself. All of those things are shaped by what you think happiness means, what you believe will give you meaning or purpose in life. And so Father Spitzer developed what he called 4 levels of happiness. There are 4 different drivers in the human person, 4 different things that we desire that lead to a sense of fulfillment or happiness. The first is physical pleasure and possessions. Okay, that would be anything tangible. There's my daughter when she got $10 on her birthday, something physical and tangible, right? There's my 2 girls on a ride, something that's maybe stimulating physically and exciting and thrilling, right? There's something delicious, cupcakes, okay? Or getting something physical or tangible, a doll or a car or a new house, or something that you've always wanted. That would be happiness level 1. And it's good, there's nothing wrong with it. We need it for our bodies to sustain and to stay alive. But we need a little bit more than that, because if we only focus on level 1, we will end up in crisis. And I'm not going to talk a lot about that crisis today. I'm just giving you an overview. But living for level 1 leads us to boredom, feelings like we're living beneath ourselves, low self-esteem, restlessness. So we need more. Human beings desire ego gratification. It's the kind of happiness that comes from feeling good about myself. So power, popularity, being liked, being in control, being admired, winning, being better than others, being successful or accomplished. All of those things are a kind of happiness. There's me when I very first learned how to carry my daughter in the baby carrier without dropping her. And I had a sense of pride and accomplishment. There's my daughter when she won a pink ribbon at the fair for a drawing that she did. And that's that look in her face that, I did it. I accomplished something. And level 2 is also very, very good. We need that in order to pursue good things in our life. We want to, discover cures for diseases. We'd like to build better bridges. We'd like to, advance civilization. And so it's important for us to have a sense of accomplishment because that drives us forward. But if we're only living for level 2, or we emphasize it as the most important thing in our life, we will become angry when we cannot achieve what we think that we should. We'll become angry at ourselves and others. We can become jealous, have contempt for those who are better than we are, live a life of aggression where we're constantly trying to achieve, because without it, we lose our very sense of self. We become anxious about the competition. A life becomes a constant competition. We become suspicious of others, even those whom we love. And then we begin to resent others and perhaps even God. So we need more than level 2. We need something to direct level 2. And that would be level 3, doing a good beyond myself. Now, notice how level 3 is a corrector of level 1 and 2. Okay, when level 1 and 2 were ends in themselves, they became very selfish, aggressive, very empty, and frankly, not fulfilling. But with level 3 as their end, they properly order themselves. They become balanced. I'm not wanting to succeed for the sake of my own ego gratification. I'm wanting to succeed for the sake of doing a good beyond myself, making a better world. Okay? But good beyond itself, as good as it is, it manifests in 5 different ways. We want truth, we want love, we want justice, we seek beauty, we seek a home, right? A sense of a solidarity. And there's nothing wrong with that. These are good things to seek: goodness, truth, beauty, justice, right? All these things are good, lead to compassion and generosity and creativity. But the problem with level 3 is that we want it perfectly. We want absolute truth and unconditional love, perfect justice, flawless beauty, and eternal home. And you can't get that from each other. We need more than these things just simply, imperfectly. We want them absolutely. And human beings can't satisfy that desire for perfection. So we will end up in crisis, disappointment, frustration, dashed expectations, cynicism. We will end up feeling like life has an end that I desire, which can never be achieved. And we will end up in despair. So what do? The ultimate good. That's level 4. That's the desire for God, for perfect truth and love and justice and beauty at home. And it's the leap to faith and recognizing God really does exist, and He is unconditional love and perfect mercy and justice, and only He can fulfill me. Okay, so there's a picture of my daughter when she had her first confession, coming out of the confessional. You can see that joy on her face. I have been forgiven, and God loves me, and He is merciful. And that sense she had, she came and hugged me immediately, and just felt that God just in her being and in her soul, loving and forgiving her. And that was a beautiful thing. Okay? So where does this go from here? Human beings desire all 4 levels, and they're all good. The problem is when we live for level 1 and 2 above level 3 and 4. So part of our role as educators in the pro-life movement is to help move people out of level 1 and 2 as dominant and into level 3 and 4. And we have a lot of ways to help you do that. But if we don't do that work first, if we don't first try to identify where people are going wrong there with how they're interpreting happiness, meaning in life, if we don't first identify where they're making mistakes by putting level 1 ahead of level 3 and 4, or level 2 ahead of level 3 and 4, and living beneath themselves, then we miss the whole point that they are now defining words in ways that are beneath them, that will lead to their misery and the destruction of civilization. And I truly mean that. The way people define happiness will lead to their definitions of success, quality of life, love, how they define suffering, how they view ethics, freedom, personhood, rights, and the common good. You add happiness to that list, and that's what we call the 10 categories. Father Spitzer calls the 10 categories of cultural, the 10 categories of culture. And all of those categories are essential to move people into a level 3-4 perspective if we want to build a pro-life culture. Let me give you an example. If people are living for level 1 and 2, how are they going to view success? I am successful when I have achieved more than you have. I am successful when I have the things that I desire to keep me physically content. I am successful when I have won a competition, when I have achieved the ladder of success in my career. That's success. And if something's going to get in the way of that success, then I become a failure. I don't just fail at something, I become a failure. And nobody wants their whole life to be summed up by the word failure. So what might pose a threat to my opportunities for success in level 1 and 2? A disability, a baby, marriage, commitment, maybe a terminal illness, maybe responsibility for an elderly parent. Those things begin to threaten my success. And when they threaten my success, they threaten my quality of life. My quality of life is going to plummet. I cannot possibly be happy and enjoy the true meaning and purpose of life if I am terminally ill, if I am disabled, if I am responsible for an elderly person, if I have to pour my life into taking care of a child, if I have to be responsible to the commitment of marriage, right? And of course, that's going to taint my definition of love, right? Love now is focused on me. Love is all about me, right? Empower me, get me ahead, acknowledge me, reward me. That's what love is, instead of seeing love as a gift of myself for the good beyond myself. And that's going to taint the way I view suffering. Suffering is now seen as something to avoid at all costs. There's no meaning or purpose in suffering unless it can get me ahead, make me more powerful, or acquire more goods for myself. And of course, that's going to affect how you view the term ethics. Well, what's right versus what's wrong? Well, it all depends. I mean, is it going to lead to more suffering? Is it going to diminish my quality of life? Is it going to help you love me more? Is it going to give me more success in life? It all depends. Right and wrong now become a weight of, or a balance of what's good for me, instead of ethics being something in and of the rightness or wrongness being intrinsic to the act itself. And of course, that's going to all affect the way we view freedom. Do you see how these words all impact each other? Freedom, right? When am I most free? Well, I'm obviously most free when you're letting me do whatever it is that I need to do to achieve success, quality of life, and love, and avoid suffering. And anytime you're getting in the way of that with laws, rules, responsibilities, constraints, obligations, commitments, then you are infringing on my freedom. That view of freedom is called freedom from. Freedom to me is freedom from obligations, restraints, commitments, and responsibilities. And of course, that's going to affect the way I view the human person. You are a problem. You're not a mystery, an intrinsic goodness in and of yourself, right? A little eternity, a little image and likeness of God with your own intrinsic dignity and goodness, right? And your own inalienable rights. You are a problem. And so I will begin to define the person in terms of something material, right? You're a gathering of cells. You're a lump of tissue, right? You are a physical being on earth, but we begin to see the person, instead of as a mystery, we see the person as a problem. And of course, that's going to affect the way we view rights, human rights, okay? Who has rights? Well, that kind of depends. Are you useful to the world? Can you get us ahead? Are you able to contribute to society? Are you going to cause problems? Human rights are given to people who deserve them. And if you don't deserve them, then you don't get them. Okay. And so you could see already how this has happened with the unborn child. The child gets in the way of my goals, my career. And so, well, maybe you don't have any human rights, because after all, you're small, you can't speak for yourself. You don't have, as much physical function as I do. You certainly don't have as much of an IQ as I do yet. And so, maybe you don't have any human rights. And of course, that is going to change the way we view the common good. There is no common good, right? It's all about my personal independent good. That becomes very, very dangerous. So how do we change that? we need to move people into a level 3 and level 4 view of those terms. I'm not going to get into that today. I'd love to go through those level 3, 4 definitions of those terms, but I'll show you later where you can go through a whole course. All I want to do at this point is just show you how when people embrace happiness level 3 and 4 views of happiness, success, quality of life, love, freedom, etc., it leads them to embrace 10 universal principles of civilization. Right? They're universal because they are true and they apply no matter where you live, no matter when you live, and no matter who you are, what race you are, how old you are, whether you're male or female, they apply to everyone, everywhere, at all times. They are principles because they are core fundamental truths that ground all of our other beliefs and our the culture itself. Okay? And these universal principles are necessary for civilization. If we break apart these principles, if we start to avoid them or deny them, if we stop living for these principles and stop upholding them, we will actually begin to threaten civilization itself. Every one of these principles are necessary for a healthy civilization. And so you really don't want to go violating these principles. What are they? Okay, well, there's a principle of happiness. We call it the principle of beneficence, and it was first articulated by Jesus, the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. In other words, real happiness comes from giving myself away for the good of other people, not from sacrificing other people for the good of myself. All this is simply doing is saying level 3 and 4 are more worthy of my identity and my commitment than level 1 and 2. Level 1 and 2 are good, but only as ends to a greater means. There are also 3 principles of logic that help us define what a human person is. Who is a human person? How can I know, who I am supposed to be doing good for if I don't even know who a human person is? So in order to help define a human person and to see the logical truth, the undeniable truth that an unborn child is a full human being and a full human person at the moment of fertilization, at the moment of conception, we need to take people through 3 basic principles of logic. Non-contradiction, which shows that something cannot be and not be at the same time. It can't be a baby for you and not a baby for me at the same time, at the same place. The principle of objective evidence that says if you want to define something objectively instead of subjectively, depending on, who's doing the defining, which gets us all into trouble. If you want an objective definition, what is it really by nature? Then you need to look at all the data. You can't just look at the material manifestation of the thing you're defining. You have to look at all the publicly verifiable evidence, okay? So we call this the principle of objective evidence. You need to have evidence that other people can verify, and you need to include all of that evidence. And that leads to this principle, complete explanation. You have to move beyond just the physical definition of a human person when you're dealing with human beings, because we have a transcendent nature. And it's very obvious. We can be creative. We can be loving. We can be self-sacrificial. We can be generous. We can aspire to goods beyond the material and beyond the finite. We can have a concept of the infinite, and we can connect with the infinite through art and through music and through, through drama and literature and through our spirit and our soul, which we know, which we sense, and we can feel the connection of the eternal through our souls. Okay, so the best theory of any being or anything you're trying to define is going to be the one that explains the most data. All right, so all of this will lead to a definition of the human person that ultimately includes the human person. And again, I'll show you later where you can go through all of this curriculum to see how that works. I just want to take you through, there are 3 principles of ethics that we teach. Once you know who a person is, and then you know that the meaning of my life is to live for level 3 and 4 above level 1 and 2, to do the good beyond myself for the other and not to sacrifice the other for myself, then it's kind of important that I live by certain ethical principles. I need some rules and guides to direct me in how to treat other human beings, whom I care for and whom I've just said I want to do the good for. How do I do that? Well, this is the most basic one, the principle of non-maleficence. First, do no harm. And if a harm is unavoidable, minimize it. The principle of consistent ends and means, you may know this as the ends do not justify the means. You cannot use an evil method to get to a good end. Why? Because the evilness of the method will undermine the goodness you're trying to do. Okay, so you cannot say that, in order to get to the good end of advancing my career, a child must die, right? I'll have to abort the baby because he's in the way of my career. That's a good end, but an evil means. And so this would explain, why you can't do that. And then there's the principle of full human potential, which was first articulated by Bartolome de las Casas in defense of the Native Americans against the Spanish conquistadors who wanted to enslave and torture them and even killed them when they resisted. And he said, no, you cannot do that on the grounds you're using, that they are less developed, that they have more primitive forms of mathematics and architecture and music or whatever. You cannot do that because every group of human beings' value or worth is commensurate with, is equal to what they could achieve if they reach their highest potential. If you taught mathematics to this group of people, they could learn it, right? If they had access to scriptures, they could learn it. You can't say that somebody is less human because they are less developed. Okay? You cannot say that an unborn child is less human or less of a person than I am because he is less developed. You have to consider what that being could achieve if he reached his fullest actualization or his fullest potential. That gives you the worth of the being right now. Okay, so those are 3 principles of ethics, and they lead to 3 principles of rights. There's the principle of natural rights, that we all human persons possess natural rights, human rights by nature. They're not given by government. They cannot be taken away. They can only be violated. And what are they? Well, those rights are life, liberty, and property. And there's an ordering of them called the fundamentality of rights, or the hierarchy or prioritization of rights. Life is more fundamental than liberty because without life, you can't have liberty. And liberty is more fundamental than property because without personal liberty, you can't own property. So there's a proper ordering to those rights that helps you when those rights conflict. This is why life must be protected before the right to liberty or the freedom of choice. And then there's the principle of limits to freedom. One person's freedoms cannot impose an undue burden upon another person's freedoms or groups of freedoms. Or groups' freedoms. So these are the 10 principles that we teach, and we've developed an entire curriculum on how to teach that. And I want to show you what happens to people when they go through this curriculum, because we've actually done quantitative analyses of our audiences. When we ask them this question, no one should tell you that a certain act is good or evil because morality is a matter of personal opinion. About 74% of our young audiences, this is high school age audiences, agree with that statement before going through our curriculum. After we take them through this education of the heart through the 4 levels of happiness, and then the education of the mind through the 10 universal principles, those statistics change dramatically. 55% of the audience agrees. We gain 45% of the audience disagreeing with that statement. And that's after only going through 2 weeks of the education with them, not the whole full program, which usually lasts 6 weeks. True happiness comes from love of others and or God over sex, money, power, success, etc. When we pose this to them in our high school audiences, 56% of our kids agree with this. And these are mostly kids coming from Christian schools. 56 agree that this is where happiness comes from. True happiness comes from love of others and or God over sex, money, power, success. That's good, but 44% disagree. That's pretty scary. After going through our education, 91% of them agree with this statement. A fetus is a human being with the same right to life as everyone else. Prior to our education, 51% agree, about half and half. And afterwards, we can move that needle to 86% of students agreeing with that statement. And assisted suicide should be against the law. 54% agree with that prior to going through our education, and 66% after. So these are some really great statistics. And now I want to talk to you a little bit about what we have to help you educate yourself and then to help educate others on these curricula. Healing the Culture has developed a variety of programs and then resources within each of those programs to help you educate others on these 10 universal principles and these 4 levels of happiness. And I want to share them with you now and show you the tools and even show you some of the videos and things that we have. I think you're really going to enjoy this so that you can start to get a sense of how you can use these tools. Most of them are free. Some of them you have to pay a little bit for, but I think you can find enough through the free tools that you'll be able to get started. Let's go through the first program, which is our program we'll start with the young ones. We actually are developing right now a K through 8 curriculum. We have kindergarten, first grade, and second grade completed at this time. And we will add third, fourth through eighth grade. And so some of that will be rolling out. Some of it may be rolled out by the time you watch this. But I'm just going to take you through the K through second grade curriculum right now. It's called Philo and Sophie, Philosophy for Children. Philo is a penguin, and Sophie is a mermaid, and Philo and Sophie together spell philosophy. And so I'm going to take you through this program. Let's take a look. This is Philo and Sophie's website. It's philoandsophie.org. And you can hop on this website. The first page you will see, I'm already registered and logged in, but the first page you will see is a registration page. It's free to register right now. And so you can go in and it just asks for a few questions, your name, you've got to have a login and a login password, and then it'll take you to this page. What we teach is happiness, success, and contradictions, that first principle of logic to young students. And the whole goal of this program is to get these young students already thinking in terms of living for something better than what the culture is positioning them for. You know that often in school, sadly, and in cultural things like magazines and books and movies, music, theater, television, these things as children grow are going to be very strongly pushing them into level 1 and level 2 beliefs and attitudes on all 10 of those cultural categories. And so we need to get them while they're young, helping them to live for what is truly worthy of them and seeing the truth about who they are and what they are meant to live for. And so we found a way to teach those 4 levels of happiness to kindergartners. That's unit 1. Then we move into how you define success and even value and worth, the value and worth of a human person in unit 2. That's first grade. And then we teach them the principle of contradictions in the third grade. And in the second grade. And we've called them unit 1, 2, and 3 instead of kindergarten, first and second, because they're actually pretty interchangeable. We've tested all 3 of these units in kindergarten and in first grade and in second grade, and they work really well with all 3 of those grades. You can even use these on your 4th, 5th, and 6th grade kids. And frankly, I've done this for high school kids where they watch the Philo and Sophie episodes and they absolutely love them. But they're intended for kindergarten, first and second grade. And so I'm going to show you what happens when you click, for example, into unit 3, which is our unit on contradictions. You'll see 3 lessons. Each lesson is a classroom period. You can do it at home with your own children. You can do it in a school or in a religious education class, a Sunday school, a Bible study class with kids. And lesson 1 and the principle of non-contradiction first talks about, well, what is truth? How do you know what truth is? And it's kind of Sesame Street style. It's got some really fun little vignettes that, in a video. So the first thing you would do is you would play the video. And then you would talk about it. If you want, there's a whole bunch of learning materials that you can download here. And the learning materials include teacher resources, handouts, and even some activities. And so if you utilize those activities, you can use them in a classroom, you can use them in your home as well. And if you do that, the way I would do it is first you go through, you print out the learning materials, you would go through the parent or teacher piece. Then you show the video, which is about maybe 12 minutes, anywhere between 9 and 12 minutes long. And then there's a hands-on activity for the student to learn. This one teaches them what are contradictions and how contradictions don't work. And then lesson 3 is a song called Contradictions Are Fiction. We've woven all these wonderful original songs into the curriculum that are catchy and the kids absolutely love them. I want to show you one of the videos so that you get a sense of how we teach and what it is that we're doing. What we're trying to do in the second grade with this curriculum is to help young people understand that there is such a thing as objective truth, and that something cannot be true and not true at the same time, at the same place, in the same respect. You cannot, this little cartoon here, you cannot be a square and a circle at the same time, at the same place. You're either one or the other. You can't be both because they're mutually exclusive. And what we do is we go through the basic principle, we teach that, and then the last unit of every episode of each one of these grades, the last lesson applies it to a pro-life theme, but we do it in a way that's innocent so that young people are not, that they aren't given something that they're not ready for. So we don't actually talk about abortion. In this clip that I'm going to show you here in just a minute, Philo and Sophie, the characters, have learned that you cannot make contradictions, that they just simply don't work. And this episode includes Sophie the mermaid and another character called Frank the monster. And I want you to take a watch and see how this is all integrated. Just have some fun with this.
And off they went.
Dobby. Well, Katya, what did you eat for lunch? Your stomach is huge.
Hi, Frank. That's not lunch. That's a baby.
You ate a baby?
No. I am having a baby. That's where baby grows, inside the mommy's tummy.
Katya, I hate to tell you this, but that's definitely not a baby. I think you've been maybe eating a little too much these days. Maybe you should cut back and do some exercises. Oh, here, I'll show you some monster exercises.
Okay.
Hop, 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 hop. Wow!
Thanks, Frank. But I don't think those exercises would be good for the baby. She's pretty big now.
Katya, there is no baby in there.
There really is.
Well then, how come I can't see him?
Well, she's actually a girl, and you cannot see her because she's deep inside my womb.
Your what?
My womb.
You've got a room inside your stomach?
It is actually called a womb with a W.
A womb.
Yes, a womb is the soft sac where baby grows inside the mommy's belly.
Well, I don't believe there's a baby in there because I can't see it.
Well, you believe in God, don't you?
Well, of course I believe in God, Katya.
But you cannot see him.
Well, that's different. Well, I'll tell you what. Because I don't believe you and you don't believe me, we'll say it's a baby for you, but for me, it's lunch.
Oh, I know this.
Oh, hi, Sophie.
Oh, yeah, hi, Frank.
Oh, Katya here thinks that she ate a baby.
Yeah,
I told her it's just her lunch, but she's pretty convinced that she ate a baby. I don't want to upset her, so I told her that it's a baby for her, but not for me.
Yeah, I know that, Frank. I heard you. But you can't do that.
Can't do what? Why not?
You can't say it's a baby for one person, but not for another person, because that's a counter-schmicklin.
You mean contradiction?
Yeah, that's what I said. You can't have it be a baby for one person and not for another at the same time, depending on who's looking at it or whether or not they want it to be. It either is or it isn't, but it can't be both at the same time. That's a contradiction.
Well then, what is it?
It is a baby. Here, let me show you.
Oh.
See?
Ah!
This is what the baby looks like before she's born, when she's only 1 month old. I know, she does look much like a baby when she's only 4 weeks old. But that's how we all started out. She's actually only about the size of a sesame seed right now.
A sesame seed? Oh, yeah.
See? This will become her spine, and her heart is already beating.
Her heart?
Wow.
Wow.
Here, she's at 2 months old.
Oh.
You can see her eye there, and her little hands and feet. She's about 1/2 inch big, like the size of a nickel.
Well, a nickel?
That's really small.
Here, she's 4 months old. She can blink her eyes, and she has fingerprints.
Wow, it's tiny.
Yeah.
This baby is 5 months old. She's about 6 inches long, and she can suck her thumb,
Oh, I suck my thumb sometimes.
stretch, yawn, and even make faces if she doesn't like the way something tastes.
Oh, I wonder if she likes seaweed. I love seaweed.
And here is an ultrasound of my baby Julia, who is right here inside my tummy.
Oh,
But what's an ultrasound?
Yeah, what's an ultrasound?
An ultrasound is a machine that doctors use to see inside your body. They can take pictures and even videos of a mother's baby inside of her.
Whoa, that's amazing!
Maybe a little weird.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I could see the baby moving.
Oh, that would be so cute.
Well, you might be able to feel Julia moving.
What?
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, here,
Whoa.
give me your hand.
Oh,
wow.
really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow.
I felt it move.
What was that? A kick
Oh,
or
I felt
something?
that. That was awesome.
Yeah, and it was weird.
Oh, do it again.
Do it again. Do it again.
Whoa! There really is a baby in there.
Oh, baby.
Hi, baby.
Oh,
My
I
name
love
is
you.
Frank. Can't wait to meet you, baby Julia.
Oh, don't hurt the baby. Oh, I love you, baby.
Okay, so
Videos, activities, and
oops,
parent-teacher
that was
resources that
so
teach
that
happiness.
is our curriculum on Philo and Sophie. I hope you like that. That's a lot of fun to do, and we really enjoyed putting it together. The second program that we have created is designed for high school students, 9th through 12th grade, and it's called Principles and Choices. You can access this at principlesandchoices.com, which is the website, again, principlesandchoices.com. And although it's created for 9th through 12th graders, it can also be used. We've tested it in 7th and 8th grade classrooms as well, and in 7th and 8th grade homeschool cooperatives and homeschool homes. And it works very well with that age as well, as long as you have a parent or a teacher that's really engaged with the curriculum. Some of the pieces will have to be removed because it's a little over their head or they're just not the right maturity level yet. But most of it can be used and is quite effective in that age group as well. But the target is 9th through 12th grade. There are 3 different textbooks. The first one, they're student workbooks, combined textbooks. And the first one is called Identity and Values. It's on those 4 levels of happiness. And then the second one is called Truth and Reason. It's on the 3 principles of truth and logic. And then the last one is called Ethics and Justice. And it's on the 3 principles of ethics and the 3 principles of justice. And I want to show you how we've designed the curriculum and the tools that are available for you. This program, there are some free tools in it, but most of it you have to purchase. We have ebooks, so you can use ebooks. There are teacher books that go along with it. And then there are a bunch of extraneous tools. This is the book that all the curriculum came from, 10 Universal Principles, written by Father Spitzer, A Brief Philosophy of the Life Issues. Father Spitzer wrote this at the college level, so it's for college students and adults. And we took that curriculum and we kind of digested it onto the teenage level and the high school level. And but the book itself, 10 Universal Principles, can be used in upper level high school classes. The textbooks can be applied in 9th grade for book 1, 10th grade for book 2, and 11th grade for book 3. That's usually how we do it. Or you can combine all 3 books to make a 1 semester class in any of those grades, 9th grade, 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. Usually what we do though is we recommend, if you're going to use it in a school setting, use book 1 in the 9th grade in a theology or religion class, book 2 in the 10th grade in a science class or physiology class, and book 3 in the 11th grade in either a history class or a social studies class. You can also, if you have a philosophy program, you can use all 3 books in a philosophy class, or if you have a pro-life curriculum, you can insert it there. Each book takes about a week to 2 weeks to go through, so about 5-day periods or 10-day periods, depending on how much of the program you want to do. You can do it in as few as 5 days per book, or you can use all of the different tools and things that come along with it and make it into a 2-week program. In the 12th grade, if you'd like, we have a play. It's called Robert and Emma, and a play about life's choices, or a play in 4 acts. And what that play does is it takes all of the different pieces of the curriculum, 4 levels of happiness, logic, ethics, and justice, and it splits them into a dramatic play between 2 characters, Robert and Emma, who are high school students at the time that the play first starts. And it takes you through this drama about life and death and abortion and miscarriages, And you get to see these two characters grow through the play, and there's a love interest involved, and somebody dies. I won't tell you who, but it's a really exciting play. And we've got it both in paper script as well as we've got it as a audio drama. So you can purchase the audio drama, and it's kind of like a radio play. And you could do that in the 12th grade if you'd like, where kind of the whole thing ties together with this drama, and they go through the entire curriculum again in these 4 different class periods with a handout that goes with it. Or you can just integrate these audio dramas into book 1, 2, and 3. That's also something that you can do. And then we have the teacher books that go along with it. The teacher books include all the resources you need. It's very plug and play. And the website itself has a little quick code place here where you can insert codes that take you to, on this upper right side of the screen, there are codes that will take you to exams, tests, quizzes, study guides, little videos that are embedded, so that every now and then in the teacher guide, it'll say, play this video, and it's all right there for you. It's all laid out. It's very easy to use. It's driven by this website. And then we can also help you explore different ways that you can implement the curriculum. I wanted to show you just a little bit of the samples so that you can get a sense of what's in the pieces, and you get a sense of how the curriculum is run. So there's the textbooks, there's this teacher books. The teacher books have slides already done, full PowerPoint presentations with full lecture notes, so you don't even have to prepare that. There's a sample of the Robert and Emma drama online, so you can get a sense of what that drama is like. And then the Life in the Flash game set takes there's 10 laminated flashcards. Each one of them reinforces one of those 10 principles in the curriculum. And then on the back of the card has a dilemma, a moral dilemma that the students have to discuss and solve without violating the principle on the front of their card. So they kind of break into groups of 2 or 3, they discuss what's on their card, and then they come back together as a whole group and they dialogue on their findings. It's a really great way to integrate the program. If you want to take a look inside these books, I'll just show you inside Ethics and Justice and give you just a little idea of how we've divided them down. In each of these textbooks, we first teach the principles, you can see there, and then we'll get into a deeper concept here on freedom. And then at the end of the book, after they've learned the principles and the students have embraced them and are really, really falling in love with these deeper principles, then we apply them to abortion and euthanasia. We say, okay, here's how abortion is violating every one of these principles we just talked about. Here's how euthanasia destroys civilization and all these principles we just talked about and agreed that we really don't want to destroy. And then, let's close that one. And then I just want to show you how it's sort of laid out. It's very colorful. We use historical examples. In this case, in this book, a historical example of when the human rights of individuals were abused for the sake of a greater end, a total violation of the principle of the ends don't justify the means. Here's where the common practice of abusing individuals in the name of promoting the common good was practiced in the Salem witch trials. So they get to apply history and a lot of moral ethics questions in the book. There's lots of spaces for the students to write their thoughts. And then at the end, we give them the freedom from and freedom for concepts and then apply it to the abortion euthanasia. And not only do we do that, but we also help students move to the higher levels. As we go through the program, it's really important to us that we're actually taking students to the higher levels of happiness and helping them live for those levels, not just telling them what the levels are, but helping them actually authentically live for those higher levels. So that would be Principles and Choices. Again, principlesandchoices.com. You can explore it online, and that would be for our high school age group and also for 7th and 8th grade. And I want to show you now our college level program. RespectLife.University is a website that was designed for college and adults. It contains a bunch of little videos and snippets. We're trying to make them 5, 6, 7 minutes long that deal with different issues, such as, can we agree to disagree on abortion? Can abortion be justified if pregnancy threatens a mother's life? What about rape and incest? What about vaccines and abortion? So we deal with all of these issues, and it's all free. I encourage you to go online and explore it at RespectLife.University. I'm just going to show you a little bit of one of the videos we have. It's called, Does Abortion Improve Quality of Life? We've integrated animation into this program, and I want you to see a little bit of this animation.
This is Todd, and Amanda, and Rochelle. They all have different opinions of what real happiness is. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion, right? Todd thinks that happiness comes from physical pleasure and acquiring as many material possessions as possible. Amanda thinks that real fulfillment comes from being a prima ballerina and hearing thousands of people cheer her name. Rochelle appreciates the things that make Todd and Amanda happy, but she believes that real happiness comes from her faith in something bigger than herself and in doing things to make a positive difference in the lives of others. One day, Todd, Amanda, and Rochelle have a car accident. All three of them wind up with chronic injuries. Todd has to sell his house and many of his belongings to pay for his medical care. He's depressed because he thinks his quality of life is finished. Amanda can't dance anymore and is replaced by another ballerina. She thinks her life is over because her successful career is over. Rochelle has chronic back and neck pain and often needs help with simple tasks. She isn't exactly elated about the whole thing, but somehow Rochelle doesn't seem to be depressed like Todd or in despair like Amanda.
Thank you.
Apparently, the way we define happiness has a lot to do with the way we view quality of life and success, and it can make a big impact on how we face the challenges in our lives. Have you ever noticed that when people are focused on their own selfish desires, they tend to make decisions about life's greatest tests that they later regret, feel guilty about, or are even ashamed of? But when a person is operating out of faith, hope, and love, they tend to make decisions with a healthier perspective about what really matters. And they can do things that are really generous, courageous, and even self-sacrificial. Focusing on others just seems to bring out the best in us. Think about one of the toughest decisions a person could ever face: abortion. Some people say that an unborn child faces a bleak future and low quality of life if he or she comes from a poor family, or if the timing of the pregnancy is bad, or if the baby will be born with a disability. They say that's cruel and abortion is the compassionate answer. But doesn't that all depend on how you're defining quality of life and success? I mean, does quality of life really come from how many pleasures and possessions we have? Is a successful life really defined by accomplishments, popularity, or being better than others? When a baby is killed in an abortion because someone thinks his life isn't perfect enough, we all lose. We lose the chance to be generous. We lose the opportunity to sacrifice a little of ourselves for someone who is vulnerable. We miss out on the fulfillment that comes from embracing every member of the human family, no matter what their challenges are. And we lose our hearts along the way. What we thought was compassion was actually a judgment that someone else's life wasn't worth living. No one's saying life is easy. Sometimes it can be really difficult. But when was the last time you regretted giving up a part of your life to make a positive difference to someone else who was in need? Abortion advocates tell us that every child should be a wanted child. But they never finish their sentence. And if her parents don't want her, the law should allow them to kill her. That doesn't sound like a recipe for happiness. It sounds a lot like the recipe for disaster, destruction, and despair. If we really believe that happiness comes from something bigger than ourselves, and from the little or even big things we can do to make a positive difference in the lives of others, then maybe it's time to abandon the shallow cliches that we've allowed to control our lives and embrace something much better. Every child is a wanted child, and we are happy to love you, care for you, and protect you, no matter what.
Okay, so that is our, there's my video. That is our curriculum for high school students and, college students. And we want you to access that and know that you can receive that, everything that's in that curriculum for free. So again, that's RespectLife.University to access that, all of the resources there. We just have a few minutes left, and I want to take you through just a little bit more of our tools and resources that we have. Let me screen share with you again and show you this. This is our website, healingtheculture.com. You can come to this website to find out about all the other tools and resources that we have. There's a lot more available here. I'm just going to go through a few more. If you click under programs, it shows you all of our programs. There's Philo and Sophie, Principles and Choices. And this is one called Life Advocacy Student Training, or L.A.S.T. It's the training we do for college students on college campuses. It can be run through a Newman Center, through a pro-life club on campus, or through some other kind of a student program like that. It can be done at a church or on the campus itself, or even off campus somewhere else. And what we do is we'll come in live to a campus and we'll train up to 10 students, at least 10 students at a time, maximum of 30. And it's a crash course, intensive training class in all 10 of those universal principles and the 4 levels of happiness, and how that philosophy all applies to every issue in the pro-life movement. We cover everything from abortion, euthanasia, physician-assisted suicide, embryonic stem cell transplants, cloning, rape and incest, life of the mother. We will cover every issue and help the students apply the principles. And then there's a whole practicum session. It's about a 5-hour training, usually on a Saturday. And there's a whole practicum session where the students learn, how do I dialogue on this? How do I use this in my classroom? How do I do tabling out on the public square on my campus? How can I do activities on campus or provide resources on this to other students? How can I, do debates, utilizing this in conversations or debates? And so it's a great training. It's completely free. And if you are a college student, or a college student group, a group of students, or you have a college student, a child or a grandchild going to college who would like to put on this training, just have them get in touch with us. They can go to the programs section of our website, healingtheculture.com, and click on Life Advocacy Student Training, and it'll tell them everything they need to know for getting in touch with us for holding that hosting that course. And the last thing I want to do is just show you on the shopping cart these little resources we have. There's the 10 universal principles. Father Spitzer wrote the book Healing the Culture, which I highly recommend you get if you want to go really deep into the program and learn everything that there is to learn about the philosophical foundations of the pro-life movement. It's called Healing the Culture. It's the book that we got our name from. There's a video I'll pull out for you, the DVD set of Father Spitzer. I think it's 18 or 21 half-hour units, can't remember which, put out by EWTN. We sell it on our website as well, and it goes through in half-hour units, the entire curriculum from Father Spitzer teaching it. He'll be your master teacher, and he's just amazing and wonderful. And then there's also some free webinars here. You can click on any of these, and there are workbooks that you can get, or you can just click for free the webinar itself and go through an entire training on the curriculum. Here's another one Father Spitzer did, one that I did here, where you can learn the whole program. I was mentioning to you before that I give you some resources so that you can learn this on your own. Any 3 of these webinars at the end on our website, healingtheculture.com, will help you do that. And if you want more of Father Spitzer's books and resources, we've got those also on our website. You can purchase any of those at healingtheculture.com. And we've got some video series from him as well. So I want to encourage you in some way to get involved in the curriculum that we're teaching and the program that we're training. I'm so grateful to you for joining us today, and just know that we are here for you. You can contact us anytime. Our phone number is on healingtheculture.com. You can send us an email. You can get in touch with us through our Facebook page. You can check us out on Twitter. There's just all kinds of ways you can connect. We want to let you know that we're here to support you. We're grateful for what you do for the pro-life movement, and together we know that we can work together to build a culture of life. Contact us at healingtheculture.com. That's healingtheculture.com for any of our resources, and to let us know how we can help serve you and help you build a culture of life.